Hey, I'm Michael, and this is the Noob's Guide to Dark Souls. I'm going to explain a lot of the underlying mechanics that Dark Souls doesn't explain very well, because it can be a really intimidating game to get into if you don't know how it works, and like I said, it doesn't explain it well. But I have a lot to talk about, so let's just start. First, you have your attributes: Vitality, Attunement, Endurance, Strength, Dexterity, Resistance, Intelligence, and Faith. Vitality is just how much HP you have. The more Vitality, the more HP. Attunement is how many spells you can equip, and I'll get to that later. Endurance, that's a very important stat. It's the most important stat. You want to level it up as high as you can, well, up to 40. Don't go past 40 because most stats don't give you as much per level. You want to stop leveling most stats at 40. The more endurance you have, the more equip load you have, which means you can have heavier armor. And also, it gives you more stamina, which you'll find out later is extremely important in this game. Endurance is the most important stat. Then you have strength. If you have a weapon that scales with strength, the more strength you have, the more damage it does with the weapon. Dexterity, that's the same thing. If you have a weapon that scales with dexterity, you'll do more damage with that weapon. Dexterity weapons are usually quicker and you can get like more hits and then jump back and get a few more hits, and strength weapons are all like so yeah. Also, weapons will have a minimum requirement. You have to have so much dexterity or strength to even wield it. And with strength, sometimes you can hold it with two hands, and you don't have to have as much strength as you would, but you still want to get your strength up there because you won't be doing as much damage. Resistance, that's a completely useless stat. Never put anything in there. It's intended for something, but the whole Dark Souls community pretty much agrees that it's completely worthless. And then you have intelligence. You have to have a certain amount of intelligence to meet minimum requirements for spells. The catalyst to use the sorcery is scale, so if the more intelligence you have, the more damage it does. And faith, that's the same thing except with miracles. And you cast miracles with tokens or something like that. I never used miracles, so. But yeah, and they scale to your faith. So anyways, weapon stats. Alright, so I'm going to have this picture up on the screen. So in the first category, attack, you have physical, magic, fire, and lightning damage. When you first start out, you usually only have physical damage, but even when you get other kinds of damage, you just add it all up, and that's how much damage your weapon does. And then you have critical, and that's the higher that is, the more damage you'll get from backstabs or parries. And then param bonus, from left to right you have strength, dexterity, intelligence, and faith. And see, on strength there's a C. That means you'll get a moderate bonus depending on how much strength you have. And dexterity has a D, so you'll get a little bit. If the strength had an A or an S, you would get a huge bonus according to how much strength you had. And then in auxiliary effects, from left to right, you have bleeding, poison, divine, and chaos. Bleeding damage, it's like you hit them and it builds up a counter, and when that counter gets all the way up, they'll take a sudden bonus of a lot of extra damage. And poison, when you get that counter all the way up, they'll be poisoned and start taking a little bit of damage over time. Divine, that just hurts skeletons and ghosts more. And divine weapons can actually hit ghosts, whereas with other weapons you have to be cursed or something to hit ghosts. And also, if you kill a skeleton with a divine weapon, it can't be revived by a necromancer, but that's way later in the game. And chaos weapons, they just scale to how much humanity you have. And then, as you can see, damage reduction, you ignore that area when you're talking about weapons. And then required param, from left to right again, strength, dexterity, intelligence, faith, that's how much you have to wield it. With strength, if you dual wield it, you can kind of fake as if you have 1.5 times extra strength. So even though it says 24, if you only have 16 strength, you can still wield it if you dual wield, because like 16 divided by 2 is 8, and then add them together and that's 24. But then you won't be doing as much as if you had 24, so you really want to get it up there. And then durability, that'll go down as you use it, and you got to get your weapon fixed. When you first start the game, you'll be trading weapons so much that won't really matter. And later you can get something where you can repair your weapons at your bonfire for some souls. So that's not really that limiting. But it can, if you don't keep an eye on it, it can get out of hand. And then weight, that just is how much it weighs in your equip load. So you got to watch out for that. And moving on. Sorcery, miracles, and pyromancy. Sorcery. When you go to a bonfire, you can attune however many spells you want. If you have enough attunement to have 2 spell slots, you can equip 2 of them. Say you have Soul Arrow and Magic Weapon, which only lets you use it 3 times. So then you equip those. Every time you leave the bonfire, you can use Soul Arrow 30 times and Magic Weapon 3 times. Alright? And those attunement slots, those same ones, are used for miracles, which are a lot like sorcery, except they go with faith and you use, God, I can't remember. I think it's called a token, but I'm not sure. Generally, sorcery is more about offense and attacking people, and then miracles are more for personal buffs and like helping you out. But it crosses. They both do both. It's just one's more targeted that way and the other's more the other way. And pyromancy, it's special. You don't have to have intelligence or faith to use it. You get this pyromancy flame, and it'll say that it has int scaling, but it doesn't affect the spells you use with it. That's just how much it hurts when you hit them, which you're never going to do. So don't worry about the int scaling. It doesn't scale with anything. You just have to upgrade that flame, and you spend a bunch of souls to upgrade the flame. And the more upgraded it is, the more damage it does. You can do that no matter what your stats are. A level 1 person with no stats in anything would do the same damage with a fully upgraded one as a level 10 million person, which you can't be level 10 million, but you get my point. And how far are we? 606. Alright. And then armor. On that picture that I'm going to put back up on the screen now. Alright, so you see that gray area that says to ignore it? With shields, it's the exact opposite. You ignore the attack side and look at the damage reduction side. And when you're just scrolling through your shields, it's kind of deceptive because they're grouped with weapons, and it'll only show you the physical attack of everything. So if you look at 2 weapons and it shows you the physical attacks, you can compare them and say, oh, this weapon's better really quick. But when you look at the shield, it's going to show you the physical attacks. So you can't just look at shields and see the higher number and know which one's better. You actually have to go in there and look at their different damage reductions. And that's a percent, so how there's a 70 there, that means if a physical attack hits you, it'll block 70% of that. You can find a lot of shields that block 100% of physical damage, and you usually want that. But say you're going to fight a boss that has a bunch of lightning attacks, you might want to change your shield to one that blocks more lightning. And you see stability under that. What stability is when an attack hits your shield, it's going to take down some of your stamina. The higher your stability, the less stamina it takes down. And that's really important because if you don't have enough stamina to meet that stability requirement, if you're really low, it'll just go straight through you and hurt you anyways and knock you back. If you have almost enough, it'll just break through your guard and you'll go through this guard break animation and be really vulnerable for a couple seconds. So you got to keep an eye on stability, on your stamina. And also, stamina recovers a lot more slowly when you're shielding. So basically, you'll be attacking, and then if you don't have much stamina left and you start guarding, then when they hit you, you'll probably get knocked back. So you got to attack a little and save a little stamina for when you're guarding. And if you're low on stamina, you have to kind of back up and let your shield down so you can recover. It's really strategic. That's why I love this game. And then you got weight at the bottom, which I'll get into now. Yeah, armor weighs you down. It has a weight down there. And you have a certain equip load, which increases your endurance. And so you want to get your endurance up so you can equip heavier armor. You can equip all the way up to as much equip load as you want, but you don't want to. If you have it under 25, your person will roll very fast. It'll be like, but you generally want that. But you can also go with the one that's, if you have it below 50% and higher than 25, where it's still a good roll, but it's not fast. It's just a general roll. And then if you have it above 50, I think, or 75 or something, your person pretty much just pratfalls. They just like jump on the ground and land on their back, and that's not good. That's a whole, you don't want that. So you always want to wear armor that you can still move around in. And poise. If you have a bunch of poise, it usually comes with heavier armor, but there's a certain kind of armor you can find early on that has poise and it's very light, so keep your eyes open because poise is really important. If you have a lot of poise, people will keep hitting you and you'll just like stand there taking it. If you don't have much poise, people will hit you and you'll be like, ugh. And then they can kind of stun lock you to where they hit you, you flinch, they hit you again, and then you're dead. So you want poise. Poise is pretty good. And then humanity. That's one of the most complicated things in the game that they don't explain very well at all. You can burn humanity at the bonfire to be a human. That pretty much lets you enjoy the online aspect of the game, but then you can get invaded and then probably killed and drop a bloodstain or whatever. I'll talk about that later. And if you don't want to get invaded, stay hollow. But if you're having trouble with a boss, you might see a summon sign before the boss, or even if you're offline, there's NPCs you can summon, and you can summon them and they'll help you with the fight. And you can drop summon sign if you're human. And then, you could go help people. You get humanity if you help them and you actually win the boss fight. And also, you have humanity in your inventory, and then if you use it, a little number in the top left corner of the screen will go up one. That's your soft humanity. The number is the hard humanity, is the actual stuff in your inventory. When it's up there, it actually increases some of your resistances and lets you find items easier, but you drop it when you die in your bloodstain. So yeah, about bloodstain. Basically, when you die, you drop all your soft humanity and your souls, and you have to go get it. And if you die on the way to get it, that bloodstain disappears and a new one pops up. And this game's constantly saving. So if you die, it's gone. You can't reload it and try to get it again. So you gotta be careful about that. And bonfires, they're pretty much the checkpoints set up around. And you'll start to like those when you're going through and you're like, God, I just need to find a bonfire. Is there one anywhere? So they're really important, and you'll start to love them. And, I already went over the online components kind of, and you have covenants, but that'd be kind of spoilerish. When you block, if you block a hit, your stamina will go down a little bit, and the more stability a shield has, it says that on the damage reduction thing, the less stamina will go down. So stamina is really important. You got to keep an eye on it, because if you don't have much stamina and you block a hit, it'll knock your block away or just go straight through it, and then you'll be wide open to attack, and that's a really easy way to die. So yeah, equip load and stamina is very important, which is why you got to get your endurance up as fast as possible, up to 40 as fast as possible. So that's about it for this video. I might make some more, but good luck getting into the game or whatever.